Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. My name is Peter, and today we're looking at Rasenmon. It does not get any new cards in EX-08, but I've been playing this deck a bunch with the new data engine, and I really enjoy it, so I wanted to put a profile up for any of you Rasenmon enjoyers out there. So starting with our egg, I am running 4 copies of Nyaromon from BT15. When attacking, you can trash the top or bottom card of your security stack to gain a memory. This is an important enabler for our Mistymon unsuspend effects, which is going to be kind of clutch for letting Rasenmon do a lot of damage really quickly and getting our security nice and low, guaranteeing that we can trash some security for some funny security effects later. We have 4 copies of the Candlemon from BT18. On play, it reveals top 3 of your deck. You add a yellow card with the data trait and 1 card with Witch and Lee among them to your hand. The rest go bottom of your deck. All turns when this yellow Digimon with the data or Witch and Lee trait would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects. By trashing your top security card, it does not. So the cool thing about this is going to search your yellow Rasenmon and also give the yellow Rasenmon protection. So as long as you make it through the check on the purple version, the Rasenmon Fury mode, you're going to be pretty okay. We also have 4 copies of the Tapirmon. On play, you trash your top security to gain a memory. It has the same inheritable. Again, we're doubling up on that protection effect because it is pretty clutch on our Rasenmon. We want to make sure that we either see it in our rookie base or our champion base. And then the other effect that we're going to be running is barrier. So we have the Junkmon with decoy puppet trait. That doesn't matter at all. We just care about this barrier inheritable. If we don't see the protection effect, we want to see the barrier effect, and then we want to see the protection on our level 4. Or conversely, if we see the protection effect in our level 3s, we have the Gatomon here for the barrier effect in our level 4s. This also does come up when an effect trashes this card from security. You get to play it without paying the cost. This has barrier, and when a card is removed from your security stack, you gain a memory. So this is just fantastic in this whole strategy of trashing our security, playing bodies, and getting this big Rasenmon into swing with a little bit of protection. If you have barrier and you have the data protection on it, you are going to be pretty set with that Rasenmon. Moving on to our level 4s, I am on 4 copies of the BT18 Wizardmon. When digivolving by trashing your top security, you get to draw 1 and gain 1 memory. This will almost always be in the back, so that effect doesn't exactly happen very often, but this does have that data protection trait that we have on our rookies. Again, we're doubling up on it for consistency to make sure that we see it. We have 4 copies of Wizardmon X Antibody. On play, when digivolving, you can add your top security card to your hand. Then if Wizardmon or X Antibody is in this card's sources, you place 1 use cost 5 or lower yellow or purple option card from your hand as the bottom security card. That effect is really important because we are going to be running Odin's Breath in this deck, and we want to make sure that we have Odin's Breath in there to stop the opponent from winning. We want to get really low on security to use Qualialise Blast in order to make Rasenmon really gross, chunky, and swing for a lot of damage. And this is just going to make sure that when we get low in security, that our opponent can actually win the game. And then this doubles up on that protection effect as well. Moving on to level 5s, I want 2 copies of Angewomon ACE. I opted for this over the Magna Angewomon. On play, when digivolving by trashing the top or bottom card of your security, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6k till the end of the turn. I like it more because we are trashing security in this deck, so this enables our Odin's Breath and potentially the Gatomons or the Karis. And as compared to like Magna Angemon's just worse when you have less memory or less security because it's going to only apply a DP reduction effect equal to the number of security you have. This is just going to be minus 6k no matter what. And then all turns when a card is removed from your security stack, if you have 3 or fewer security, you get to recover 1. So this is going to keep us healthy while we're trashing security, as well as doling out minus 6k to the opponent. We also have 4 copies of BT18 Mistymon. This has barrier. On play and when digivolving by trashing your top security card, change one Digimon's original DP to 6,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. I suppose you could change one of your Digimon's DP, but you're more than likely switching your opponent's DP to make them small and feeble. The important part about this card is the inheritable. It says all turns when your security stack is removed from this Digimon may unsuspend. There are ways to get 3 swings with Rasenmon if you have this Fury mode and then Rasenmon in your stack, and if you give security +1 with the Qualialise Blast, you can swing 6 checks with your Rasenmon, which is pretty awesome. Our last level 5 that we are running is 2 copies of the BT7 Stefilmon. The when digivolving will never ever come up unless you evo this on top of a Gatomon that gets played from security, and then you get to tuck 2 level 4 or lower yellow Digimon cards from your hand as the bottom of this Digimon's sources in any order, then draw 1 for each card placed. I guess the kind of nice thing about that is that you could, if this goes on top of a Gatomon, you have the barrier inheritable, you could place potentially the protection effect and another barrier or 2 protection effects so that your Rasenmon has 2 layers of protection. But the important thing is the inheritable that says your turn when this card is trashed due to activating this Digimon's Digiburst. One of your Digimon gains security attack +1. So this is a way to get an extra security check on your Rasenmon. Since you can guarantee swing 2 checks with Rasenmon, this puts you at +1. If you hit the Qualialise Blast, you're swinging 6 checks anyway. So no matter which of your level 5s you get into, you should be able to do 6 damage with that Rasenmon, assuming you play the game correctly. 4 copies of Rasenmon Fury mode. this goes on yellow or purple. End of attack, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a Rasenmon in your hand, ignoring its Digivolution requirements and without paying its Digivolution cost. So you swing, you can then Evo into the Rasenmon. The important thing here also is that this says you may, so you don't have to do it first check, although you probably are going to want to, even if you have that Mistymon underneath and you have multiple opportunities to trigger this. End of your turn, you trash the top card of your security stack. This should never come up because you should get into Rasenmon every time you get the chance. The Inheritable says your turn when this card is trashed as a Digivolution card by Rasenmon's effect, unsuspend one of your Digimon and it gets 3000 DP for the turn. So this is our guaranteed unsuspend on the Rasenmon play. We have 3 copies of Rasenmon from BT7. When you Digivolve into this card from your hand, the memory cost of the Digivolution is equal to the number of cards in your security stack. If you have 0, the cost is 1. So this can be a really, really clutch, cheap Evo later in the game when you're doing the control thing and stopping your opponent from winning. Main, you can Digiburst up to 4, and one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k for the turn for each card trashed by this card's effect. Pairs really nicely with Mistymon. If you make your opponent a 6k body, you only have to trash 2 sources to kill the Digimon, and potentially next turn you can Digiburst again and get something else off the board. We have 1 copy of Ruin Mode because we have a lot of DP reduction shenanigans. We have a lot of DP changing effects through the Mistymon, so this is just a way to give minus 5k to their board. You don't have to run it if you don't have it. I just think it pairs nicely, and if you're playing Rasenmon, you probably want all the help you can get with making it function. We have 3 copies of Odin's Breath. This is kind of how we're getting to low security and then hoping that our opponent can't win the game. We want to be rigging this as our bottom security and then forcing our opponent to kind of sit there while we turtle and get into the Rasenmon OTK with Qualialise Blast. When an effect trashes this card from the security stack, you're going to activate the main effect, and the main says one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k until the end of your opponent's turn. If there's 6 or fewer total cards of both player security, all of your opponent's Digimon get security attack minus 1 until the end of your opponent's turn. So if we're rigging this as the bottom security, there should always be 6 or fewer total security in both player security stacks. You might want to get 1 chip in just to be safe, but ideally this will be giving security minus 1 and allowing us to do our little turtle maneuver, play the Qualialise Blast for 1 or 0, and make Rasenmon really big and swing lots of checks. We do have 2 copies of Blinding Ray because if we need to make our security smaller, or we need to get value, or potentially even if we rig our last card in security and we want to make sure we can get Qualialise for 0, or even Qualialise when we have lots of memory or lots of security, because the cost is equal to the number of security cards, so it gets cheaper the less security you have. This is a good way to get memory to play Qualialise at a good rate. So we have this at 2 because it pairs nicely with our win condition, basically, as you should run every card. 3 copies of, I've been saying this wrong the whole time. I'm not going to try and fix it. Qualialise Blast, when using this card from your hand, its memory cost is equal to the number of cards in your security stack. So if you have 5, it costs 5. If you have 0, it costs 0. The Blinding Ray gives you an amazing rate at this because it's going to put you down to 4, so this costs 4. But Blinding Ray gives you 2 memory, so it's actually going to be a net cost of 2 memory compared to what you had before, if that makes sense. And the more Blinding Rays you use, the cheaper this gets, obviously, and the more memory you have, so you can do some shenanigans. Main, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k. Rasenmon gets security plus 1. When you're swinging 2 to 3 checks with Rasenmon, you're going to be doing lots of damage with this. It's just kind of our win condition for the deck. Without it, we're just kind of semi-mediocre control engine, so we want to make sure that we can get these in the hand if at all possible. To that end, we have 4 copies of Physical Training. It's going to help us find our Qualialise Blast. The only thing this whiffs is Rasenmon Fury Mode, so ideally you want to have that in your hand before you start plopping these down. And then we have 2 copies of Kari Kamiya from BT15. When this gets trashed, you give one of your opponent's Digimon minus security attack plus security minus 1 until the end of their turn. So that's going to help us turtle a little bit as well. It's a memory setter, so it guarantees we have memory for our plays. And then all turns when an effect removes cards from your security stack by suspending this tamer, one of your opponent's Digimon gets security minus 1 until the end of the turn. So when you swing with the Nyaromon egg, you can just tap this down and give your opponent security minus 1 to help yourself sustain your security a little bit better. So that is what I've got going on for Rasenmon in EX-08. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you still trying to make Rasenmon work in EX-08? Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Thank you to our YouTube members for supporting this channel. It's people like Langlong, Big Z11, Coffee Deus, and Octavian who make videos like this possible.